Hello, my name is Nigeli and welcome to my channel where we support you in your journey to health and wellness. Now, in my previous videos, I was coming to you as a herbal medicine student, but I am glad to say that I'm now a qualified medical herbalist. I did my exam in May and I passed. I got my certificate. And I'm also very happy to announce, to my pleasant surprise, that I also won an award for some of the work I was doing whilst I was a student. And that was the Rutland Biodynamics Nigel Wynne Memorial Award for Innovation. So yeah, I'm really excited about that, and I'm really excited about my journey to herbal medicine. But the purpose of this video, if there's one thing that I can share with you, is how to become a herbalist in the UK and the things that you need to consider in order to become a successful, safe, holistic herbalist. I want to acknowledge, first of all, that there are different ways to learn about herbalism. And even within the UK, that there are particular groups and ethnic groups within the UK that have their own way of teaching herbalism. And they are very valid ways. And these are the ways that have literally taught us herbal medicine up until the more modern age, when people now started doing university in the way that we see it today. So in this video, I'm specifically talking about those who want to go down the more modern educational route in terms of studying herbalism. If you do want to go the more traditional route, please find the elders or the community guardians who will be able to take you on board and have their own system in terms of teaching you herbal medicine. Step one, what is your purpose in terms of studying herbalism? That will define what route you choose to take and what you're going to expect in terms of your study in herbalism. Do you want to study it so you can, make remedies for your family? Do you want to study it for your own knowledge expansion? Or do you want to study it because you want to actually practice herbalism in a safe, holistic way in the UK? Depending on what your choice is, you have different courses that you can take. In terms of my future steps, I am talking from the perspective of somebody who actually wants to go and study herbalism to become a herbalist in future. Is the course accredited? Now, in the UK, professional membership bodies are the ones responsible for almost setting the educational standards in terms of herbalism and the teaching of herbalism. So for me, when I was choosing my course, I was looking for an accredited course for two reasons. One, I felt like I can guarantee the quality of the education, and two, I felt an accredited course will ensure that I was in a good position to practice later on. And now in the UK, we have a number of bodies who are responsible for that. We have the National Institute of Medical Herbalists, we have the College of Practitioners and Phytotherapists, and we also have the Association of Master Herbalists. I'm sure there are others, but these are the ones that I have noted down that are bodies that accredit courses. So when you're looking at courses and you intend to practice in future, it might be useful to look for a course that is accredited by one of these bodies. Type of course. Now, the type of course you choose, I think, depends on two main factors. So one, finances, and two, what your life is and what responsibilities you have. If you are somebody who doesn't have a full-time job, doesn't need to worry about bills, you might consider taking a full-time in-person course. Whereas if you're somebody who needs to work full-time or has a family, you might have to consider a course that is hybrid or distance learning. So depending on your needs, you have to choose specific courses. But fortunately, we have courses that can cater to all of those needs. Now, if you want to go to university, there's one university left at the moment that has a degree in clinical herbalism, and that is Lincoln. And you would have to pay the university tuition fees in order to take that course of study. Now, the other available courses are CNM. They also have a course in herbalism, which I believe is like 3 or 5 years. I will put the amount below. And then there's Heartwood, and Heartwood are hybrid. So it's in-person, online, but primarily online. Clinical hours, you could do a mix. And then you have Botanica. So Botanica, I'll put the price below. Heartwood is about, for 4 or 6 year course, you're looking around 14,800, £15,000 for the 4 6 year courses. But as much as I say that, even if you choose the hybrid courses, do know that you're going to have to find the hours in order to understand and digest the material. In my case, where I did Heartwood, I was spending about 40 hours a week in terms of studying the material, sometimes a bit more, because I had to not only watch the material, but you had assignments to do, you had to be able to understand and digest the material, and I was learning a lot of new things. So if it's like 15 hours worth of lessons or 10 hours worth of lessons, you need to add another 20-25 hours in terms of digesting that information. So do take that into consideration. Just because it's hybrid or primarily online doesn't mean that you're not required to invest significant study time. Another thing I'll look at and I'll request is the syllabus. Because one of the things you want to check for is that it is not only learning about plants. When I was studying herbalism, I wasn't just studying about plants, and it was just not, oh, this herb is for this. You were learning about the chemical constituents, you were learning about how they interact, how they work in the body, how to best bring that constituent out in the medicine. We also learned a lot about anatomy and physiology. I was learning about organs in the body, nerve roots, where to find it, what this does, when something goes wrong. I was learning about the various illnesses, how they come to being, how to spot them, what does it mean in future, how does it affect the body, what are the knock-on effects on other systems. So it was really, really in-depth learning. I also learned about research, and I feel like the research element helps future-proof you, because at the end of the day, in 2-3 years' time, there might be this new piece of research about the effectiveness of this herb or the effectiveness of this supplement. You need to be able to read that paper, read the research that is basically backing this statement, and see whether, is this research good? Do they have the right to say, do the numbers back what this person is saying? And based on what you find, you could use that to shape and inform the decisions that you make in practice. So we learned a range of things. If you have a herbalism course that is only teaching you herbs, that for me is a concern, because herbalism relies on so much more than knowing that this herb does this. It relies on you being able to understand the body, the systems, how they work, how disease manifests itself, how health also manifests itself, what it looks like as you get older, how to support various transitions in life, and so on. You need to have this understanding in order to be able to practice effectively. So I would like to see all of this reflected in a syllabus when I'm choosing a course. This is related to the previous point, but I would also look for a course that has clinical hours. And so my Heartwood course, I had to do 500 clinical hours as part of this, and I found it invaluable because it gave me the practical experience in terms of the practice of herbalism, and that could be in different ways. So some of it was, a lot of it actually was, you would sit in a clinic and observe a herbalist interacting with the patient, prescribing medicine, and then after a few hours you will also now start taking patients, doing the write-ups, writing the prescription, and the herbalist will ask you questions. Why did you choose this? What made you consider this? And so that you have to justify why you chose that. That is very important learning. We also learned how to dispense herbs, how to write prescriptions. We also did a lot of, there were options to do community work, like how is herbalism practiced in terms of the community work. We went to festivals. So we had lots of practical experience in terms of the practice of herbalism. I would not want my first practical experience in herbalism to be occurring after I have qualified from the course. The other thing is to look at who your lecturers are and who is providing the clinical experience. I found it invaluable to learn from those who are considered experts in their area. And when they're giving you feedback, they're giving you feedback based on their 20, 30, 40 years of experience in practicing herbalism. There is no price for that. So look at who's studying. Another thing is, if these people are willing to teach on this course, it's because they believe that this course is a brilliant course. They believe that this course is a quality course. So research who your lecturers are, research what they've done, and research what they've achieved, because personally, it's only from their experience that they can now feed into your journey to becoming a herbalist. Next, how do they test your competency in terms of how do they test that you are able to practice as a herbalist safely, effectively, and holistically? So I will look at what their examination procedure is. How do they test you? And the final clinical exam is important because that is the last thing where they give you the sign-off to go into the world. And so for me, like when I was looking at it, we had like external examiners, we had real life patients, and that was like, oh my gosh, this is not somebody who's pretending to have a sickness. This is a real life patient. So my final clinical exam, like we had some physical examination sign-offs. And then we had the main exam where you have the two tutors and an external examiner. And I had a real life patient. I had to take a consultation with them in like 30 minutes, come up with a summary and all diagnosis and prescription and all that kind of stuff in 20 minutes. Then I had to explain to them what I had done and why, and then they would question me on what I'd done and ask me a series of questions to make sure that I understand in terms of various herbs. So then the following day, I would come back and we'll do what we call a viva, which is for me to feedback on what I could have done better. They would also ask me various questions. They just want to know how I reason and make sure that I will practice safely. How they test you, for me, tells you how seriously they're taking your practice of herbalism, that they're really invested in making sure that they are providing the world with safe and effective herbalists. So look at the final clinical exam. Now, when you've taken all of these steps into consideration, hopefully you have come out of the course in a place to be able to practice. Now, one of the things to also consider, and the reason why these steps are important, is that when you're looking to get a supplier for your herbs, if you're lucky to have acres of land to grow the herbs you're going to use, brilliant. But when you're looking to go to suppliers, when you're looking to go to the insurance companies, they are going to ask you some of these questions. They're going to ask you, how were you tested for effectiveness? Did you have any practical experience in terms of the study of herbalism? They're going to want your certificate and see where you got your studies from, because we have a range of courses from 2-hour courses to 6-7 year courses. So that is a big range. So these companies that are taking the practice of herbalism seriously are going to ask you a series of questions before they will grant you membership or access to their services. You need to make sure that you're able to answer those questions. So for me, these are some of the things that to consider if you want to study herbalism in the UK, and how you would choose the appropriate course to allow you to do that. So you'll go into the world and add some herbal vim. So I hope that was useful. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.